Hello everybody, the name is Melonberry, and today I am joined by Synth Coyote. Today we will be discussing a topic on our stalker known as Midnight Aesthetics. Now, before we start with this video, I would like to give a trigger warning for the things that will be mentioned. Okay, there will be sensitive topics in this video such as stalking, grooming, false claims of pedophilia, and harassment. Did we already say stalking?
Yes.
Stalking and basically faking their own death and
guilt tripping,
being obsessive,
yes,
and
grooming.
So please be cautious while watching this video, and if you are sensitive to these topics, please click off the video immediately. We will see you in the next one. First segment that we will be discussing is how it all began. So I met Synth through a mutual who we will not be naming as we respect privacy, and through this mutual, Synth and I somewhat got to know each other a little bit, and eventually became what you would call friends. Synth being a little older than me at the time, there were some people that we met along the way, and our stalker was one of those people.
If I remember right, it had something to do with you coming to me, telling me about this person named FNAF Gamer or something like that, or it was Pokepig. Either way, something you coming to me asking me for help.
Yes. I came to them for help because I trusted them, and they basically provided a safe space. And basically, I had told them that one of those two had dragged me into a video call and had told me to get naked and perform CP in front of them.
Basically, not safe for work things with a minor.
Yep, and when those two were called out on it, they tried to flip the whole situation onto a 9-year-old child who had no idea on what NSFW was. And, but here's the thing. As basically time went on, they continued to abuse me in that way, and tried to get people to side with them, which eventually led to a pretty horrid situation of cyberbullying, which led to a minor being hospitalized for a whole entire month. And afterwards, after the news had gotten out that I was hospitalized, said stalker was what I could assume happy about that, and after I had made my return, at least a week later or a day later, things somewhat went fine from there until it all went downhill. Now, this next segment we will be discussing is basically how he fueled Synth and I into hating each other.
Basically, he would act like the good guy, tell us information that he apparently knew from the other one, and then would get us upset at the other, and so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat, over and over for like months.
Yes, no matter how much Synth and I tried to better our friendship, and whenever it did end up going fine for the two of us, lo and behold, here comes our stalker preparing to rip it to shreds despite our efforts of trying to rebuild it.
And the worst part about it is he was basically manipulating us both behind our backs, because he would both play the good guy in our DMs, but when we were put together, he would make us hate each other. And basically, he would come into our separate DMs, telling us about stuff, and he started manipulating us both because whenever we would try to confront him about this, he would just make us hate each other even more, and like basically playing like he knew every. Fuck, how do I explain this right?
Basically, he would force us into hating each other and show no proof of what he was claiming.
That and the fact that, how do I explain it? What wording do I use for like, oh, he went into our DMs and then made us hate each other, but like made himself look like the good guy, but also made us hate each other, and God, it's so complicated. It's so complicated for no reason.
And basically, to put it in short, he made us hate each other for literally no reason. He destroyed our friendship multiple times for no reason, all because he hated the fact that Synth and I were getting along.
He basically was the mastermind behind it all.
Yep. And basically, this is what he was like since the beginning. Now, this next segment that we are going to go into will involve grooming, stalking, and harassment. So, after Synth and I had cut ties for the last time, everything somewhat seemed to be fine until 2020 had rolled around, and then 2022. So, when Synth and I weren't in contact, our stalker had contacted me, and he basically shot me down in ways that I cannot describe. Basically, he would remind me of the situation that had happened and basically tried to reopen wounds that he had purposely created. And he basically groomed me into doing horrible things to Synth while he was also doing horrible things to him. And what I mean by horrible things, I mean impersonating Synth, art stealing, character stealing, you name it. He groomed me into doing all of that while he constantly stalked and harassed Synth in DMs on his Tumblr, anonymously asking things, but he was death-threatening Synth. He was being transphobic, and just a whole entire clutter of horrible things that it's beyond imaginable. And when this behavior got caught on, our stalker basically apparently had a whole entire fabricated story of how he was like gonna try and get away from it. But as we know, karma, she catches on pretty quickly. And while all of that was happening with him grooming me into impersonating Synth, he acted like as if he wasn't a part of it and just acted like I was the one doing it on my own accord. And he tried to fuel Synth the last time into hating me while also doing the same thing to me. Until one night, everything changed. Now, this next segment that we will be heading into is where things took a turn. One night when our stalker had contacted me for the last time, it was about Synth. Of course, thinking that he was just going to repeat the whole entire cycle, I blocked him. But he contacted me again on an alt, basically forcing me to talk. But after a while of talking, Synth, our stalker, and I had eventually settled down on a plan to talk everything all out on Discord. And we were in a group chat together on Discord, and we were discussing everything together. That is until further into the conversation, Synth had put up an offer where he was, well, willing to hear me out, and he was willing to leave his DMs open. So I took that offer and I explained everything that I could to him privately. Now, on to our final segment, which is how everything is now. So, after Synth and I had made up in Discord DMs, everything was peaceful between the two of us. Nothing had happened, no fights happened, and everything seemed to be at harmony. That is, until recently, we found out our stalker has been trying to contact us yet again.
To give some background context to what Luna is about to explain, I had Twitter DMs open with him because that was the only way to get him to stop harassing me and doing all this bad shit to me that he's been doing for years. And so in those Twitter DMs, one day he contacted me saying that he has cancer. It is rapidly increasing and to not contact him. And he blocked me on there so I cannot contact him. And I was like, okay.
Yep. And then, just now, we found out that he had subscribed to me on his Canine Waterway Archive account, which he had falsely accused one of my associates with creating. And we also found out that he had been dead-naming us and re-uploaded 2 freaking private videos that I had created because he was stressing me out. Now, one thing that I will publicly mention is that Synth and I had publicly stated that we do not associate with the gender that we were assigned at birth. Synth is transgender, which means he is female to male. His pronouns are he, him. I am non-binary. My pronouns are they, them. And we also publicly stated the names that we wish to be called, as we do not want anything to do with our dead names. But, lo and behold, our stalker had publicly stated our dead names in the description of one of the videos that he had re-uploaded. And may I mention how he also publicly accused Synth of being an online predator. Synth, as I had previously and publicly stated in my call-out post on Tumblr, he was a minor when he and I were romantically together. He was nowhere near a grown-up, nor did he do anything that resulted for that claim to be placed on him falsely. Plus that, there was no proof of what he was claiming. Now, before we end this video, Synth and I would like to leave a message for our stalker. But first, I will ask, Synth, is there anything you would like to say first before I speak?
Other than, hey, Midnight, can you actually follow up on your word for once in your goddamn life? Because every single time you talk, it is nothing but nonsense. Do you even have a brain in that skull of yours?
Agreed. And one thing that Synth and I would very much appreciate is that if you left the both of us alone, if you stopped stalking us, stopped trying to contact us, and by God, stop trying to use your alts to get our attention. That friend group, well, quote-unquote friend group, is a thing of the past, and it's not coming back.
both me and Luna were manipulated and abused in that friend group, and we do not want anything to do with you and the others who hurt us in the past. And please, please, please stop trying to accuse me of being a predator, a pedophile, or any of this other bad stuff with no proof, because I don't know if you want this out in the public or not, but I don't care anymore because you have done me so fucking dirty. Yeah, can you please delete those pictures of minors?
Exactly. Like, we have proof of you having pictures of literal minors, including myself.
You were 18, and you claim that I am the one who is bad. Yet you have all these pictures from the past, you have past chats, you have everything to quote-unquote document.
When, in reality, you're not even moving on. You're literally just stuck in the past. Like Synth and I had already expressed that we don't want that friend group coming back. It's not going to happen. And plus,
We literally forgot that you existed for a second until this popped up.
yes. And yeah, so even if you do end up seeing this, for the love of God, think twice before you do something. Every action has a consequence, and by God, this is your consequence. 2 victims that you have abused and harassed endlessly are now speaking up against you publicly.
I'm not the bad guy here. And as ravens work, those ravens who accuse others of doing bad stuff are the ones who are actually pulling it.
Yep. And before we end this audio clip, I would just like to say, Synth and I are not your little puppets. We are not toys that you can constantly pull out of the toy box, rip us apart, stitch us back together, and later throw us back into the toy box when you're done messing with us. We are more than that. We are literal human beings with emotions and fully functioning brains. And the trauma that you gave us is quite real, but as time and days go on, we are healing from that trauma and we are moving on peacefully. This has been the call out, and this has been a collaborated video with Synth, and now we are tuning out. Bye bye.